I just shaved. My skin is super soft. All right. Hope the lighting is all right. I think it is, but we'll see. My lighting always isn't the best, but it's all right as long as the content's good, hopefully. YouTube, what is going on? Hope you're doing super well. In this video here, we're going to be covering something that honestly I wasn't sure if I was going to make this video because I didn't know how many people did or did not need and or want to hear this, but the topic is going to be how to handle, peer pressure while you're dieting, while you're trying to make a change in your life, whether it's going out to eat with your friends, whether it's, having a conversation with your spouse about how you want to, change the way you guys eat for dinner, whatever it looks like. Obviously, peer pressure is a real thing, We are, we're humans, we care about what other people think of us, right? Whether it's subconscious or conscious, right? And when you're trying to go through a change and make a change in your life as serious as changing your diet, losing body fat, because that requires a lot of you. It requires a lot of change. So when you're going through a change like that, this topic I've seen just coaching people comes up a ton. So I wanted to make a video on both the mindset, the mental side of things, as well as practical things you can put into real life, into application, for example, and then use those in your everyday life in order to help peer pressure while you're dieting, while you're trying to make some changes to your nutrition, changes to your body composition. All right, so first we're going to cover the mindset because personally I think it's the most important because as you probably know, a lot of this weight loss journey, this fitness journey is about your mindset and it's a mental game more times than not. So I want to cover the mindset / mental side of things first and foremost. Now, our first point is going to be you versus them. And I don't mean to create this divide, but I want to make this very clear because I honestly think it'll help you a ton. You have to remember, if you want to lose 25 pounds, if you want to lose 40 pounds, if you want to lose 100 pounds, if you want to change the way your body looks, if you want to make these changes to your body, that is your goal. That's not your spouse's goal. That's not your friend's goal. It's not your kids. It's nobody else's goal but yours. And you have to understand that because when you understand that, it's not your spouse's responsibility. It's not your friend's responsibility. It's your responsibility. And I'm starting this video off with probably something that's not very popular to most people, but I don't go for popularity. I go for what is actually going to help you. When you can truly understand that this is your responsibility, that you need to make this change for yourself, and it is your actions that are going to get you to make this change that you want to see in your life and in your physique, the sooner you can get to a point where you understand this is your responsibility, nobody else's, the sooner you're going to not only see results, but be happy with yourself. I put up an Instagram post recently, and I'll put it right here, and you can follow me on Instagram right here or something. So I put up a post recently on Instagram saying this basically, and I got a lot of positive feedback from it, and I got a lot of people saying like, wow, like, this is true, I needed to hear this. And oftentimes, like, when I see in comments, like, I needed to hear this, I see that more than once. I know more times than not, a lot of people are struggling with that. So I just want to let you remember, it's not up to your friends to help, it's not up to your friends for you to lose 25 pounds. It's not up for your spouse for you to lose 25 pounds. It's on you. This is your responsibility, and you have to make this your responsibility if you truly want to take back control of your life. One of the biggest things people tell me is they feel out of control, especially with peer pressure while dieting. They feel like it's out of their control. Nobody has a gun to your head and is making you do anything. Yes, of course, it's hard when you're in a social setting or when you're with your spouse, you guys are going out to eat, whatever it is. It's difficult. Nobody's arguing that. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility and it is your action. So the sooner you realize that, the sooner you can then do what I'm going to talk about here in these next couple points, all right? And so number 2, you have to understand where they are coming from. Because most individuals who, if they're giving you shit for dieting, for example, like, oh, look at this person, they're eating a salad, or don't be so boring, have this drink, have that drink, have this dessert, have that dessert, what are you doing, why are you being such a downer? It's like, first and foremost, just fuck off. But second, those people who are doing that, this is where you have to kind of take a step back and ask yourselves, why are they saying that to you? Like, why would somebody say that to you? If the person saying it to you is overweight themselves, for example, They're probably saying that to you because they see what you're doing. They see you not going for extras on dessert tables. They see you saying no to drinks. They see you packing your lunch and eating your lunch at lunchtime instead of having the pizza in the office. They see you doing these things. And they're like, shit, I'm supposed to be doing that. Like, that's what I should be doing right now. But they're not mentally tough enough. They're not mentally strong enough to be able to create the change, take those actions that you're taking, so it makes them feel bad. So when it makes them feel bad, they have to find a way to make themselves feel better. So the way they make themselves feel better and get out of their own insecurities is by, oh, well, I'm going to put this person down. And even if it's not intentionally, like they're not trying to be mean with it, oftentimes that's where it's coming from, because they're coming from a place where they're not doing the things they're supposed to be doing. So from that, they're going to then project that onto other people because it makes them insecure. So in my sense, in my eyes, because I've dealt with this my entire life, especially when, around the 11th and 12th grade mark, and, just kind of leading on from there, because, I stopped going out and I stopped drinking and I stopped doing these things, not because, I had to, just because I wanted to go work out in the morning and I wanted to eat healthier and do these things, right? And I got a lot of pushback from friends and family and whatever, and I was like, listen, I know that this individual probably is saying this because they're not working out, because they're not eating healthy, because they're not prepping their lunches. Like, it's almost coming from a place of, I think, a sign of respect towards you, because they know you're doing what they wish they could be doing, but they're not. So you have to realize, oh shit, this person is saying this and doing these things because they wish I was doing what I was doing. And for me, that's the way I took it, and that gave me even more fuel, even more motivation to keep doing the things I was doing, because I can tell you now that I have a successful coaching business and I have all these followers and whatever. I can tell you those same people who were saying those things back then are now coming to me asking me for advice. And, oh, what is a calorie deficit, and how, what do your workouts look like, and this and that. And so just know that that is usually coming from a place of insecurity on their part and almost envy, in a sense, of you on their part, because they're not doing the things they're supposed to be doing and they see you are. So it makes them feel not as good. So that's normally where that's coming from. And when you can truly understand that and kind of run that through the process in your brain, then you can say, well, this person's pressuring me because they want to do what I'm doing. So that means I'm doing something right. So if I'm doing something right, I might as well keep going, because that's a good sign, right? So understand where they're coming from. That's one of the biggest things I can tell you, because again, I've gone through all of that, right? So that's that. Now, last point, you have to do this, and I tell any of my clients this, I tell most people who struggle with this, you have to have the hard conversation with somebody sometimes. Sit them down and say, listen, motherfucker, maybe don't say that, but listen, I'm unhappy. I don't like the way I look. I don't like what I see in the mirror. I don't like the way I feel every single day. I don't like being the chubby person in the group anymore. I don't like being overweight anymore. I want to feel more confident. I want to fit into dresses. I want to fit into a two-piece bathing suit. I want to do these things. So if you're with me, great. But if not, leave me the fuck alone. And I'm a bit more bravado when I say things. You can maybe say it differently, but I would say it with a very stern saying, because I will tell you this. Every person that I've, kind of preempted to do that, every time it's worked. Because I don't know many people who, if they truly love you and they're truly your friends, I don't know many people who are gonna be like, oh shit, you're really unhappy, oh shit, you don't like the way you look, oh, well, who gives a fuck? Just do it anyway. It's oh shit, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't understand the severity of it. I didn't know you were actually upset. I didn't know you were actually, you were not happy with yourself. You weren't happy with your body. You weren't happy with your confidence. Shit, I'm sorry. How can I help? The situation automatically almost turns itself on its head, because you're holy shit, I didn't realize it was that serious. Because, oftentimes, and I'm not even going to say it's their fault, because if they don't know that, if you're just staying quiet, if you're just saying if you're just going with the flow, they'll never know, right? So if you have it's, again, your responsibility. You have to sit them down and say, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your friends, whether it's your your parents, whatever it is, you have to sit them down and say, listen, I am not happy. I want to do this to make myself happier. If you are with me and support me, great. But if not, leave me the fuck alone. And you have to kind of go at that aspect, because when you do that, they will understand how serious it is, and they will, honestly, I think most times, In return, they want to support you. They want to help you. They'll help you with the meal prep, or maybe they'll order healthy foods as well when you guys go out to eat. But it's your responsibility to set that boundary, set that line, and let them know what's going on up front. Because if they don't know, then you can't blame them for peer pressuring you and giving you shit because they don't know, right? And again, I understand having that conversation is probably hard sometimes, but usually the hardest things in life are the things you need to do in order to see results. So you have to do, if you're struggling with this with anybody, tell them you love them. Don't come out, don't be a dick to them or anything, but like, tell them you love them, but listen, hey, this is the way I'm feeling. This is what I'm going to do to help this. If you're with me, awesome. If not, please leave me alone. Like, don't, and you know what? If they say, again, I've never had this happen, but let's just say they say, oh, I don't care. Like, okay, cool. Like, not to say you can't talk to them ever again, but don't talk to them about fitness. Like, don't talk to them about food. Don't go out to eat with them. Like, if they don't want to support you and help you, you got to kind of take your life into your own hands at some point. So that's what I would say on the mindset side of things. I hope that side helped, because that's normally, again, one of the toughest sides to kind of battle with this. Now, for practical application, there's 3 things I want to cover here very quickly. Number 1 is going to be a challenge. And one of my good friends and mentors, Jordan Zayat, he talks about this a lot as well. But the more I've started doing it in my own coaching, the more I've seen people just fucking love a challenge. Like no matter what, like if you tell somebody, like for example, if you go out to your social event, whatever, and you say, hey, I'm not drinking for 21 days, I challenge myself, or my coach challenged me to not drink for 21 days. For whatever reason, people love a challenge. You're like, oh shit, you're on a challenge? That's awesome, dude. Like, wow, okay, sweet. Like, no worries. And like, normally, people will kind of back off then. Or like, oh, hey, I'm challenging myself. If your spouse, for example, I'm challenging, my coach challenged me, or I challenged myself to count calories for 30 days straight. Oh, wow, no, really? Like, that's awesome. And, they'll ask, how many days in are you? And have you fucked up yet? And what, like, they get more interested, right? And that, number 1, kind of like deflects, oh, have this drink or have this food or this and that, kind of deflects that. But also, number 2, it gets their mind like off the topic of like, you're not doing what they want you to do. And it gets their mind on something else. I used to do this all the time with like friends and family. I would just like start making like random fucking conversations, and like it would just take the focus off that singular thing, because I didn't feel like talking about why I wasn't having 3rd and 4th desserts, or I didn't feel like talking about why I brought my own food, or whatever it was. So I kind of, this challenge is great for those 2 reasons, because number 1, again, people normally back off a bit when you say, hey, I'm doing a challenge, because something about a challenge is just so, it gets people so enamored for some reason. But also number 2, it kind of like, deflects that, and you can talk about, it'll kind of go in a different direction. So, and again, if you're saying, hey, I got 7 days left on this challenge, and what I used to do was I used to make shit up every single time. Like, oh yeah, I'm on this challenge, or I'm doing that thing, and this and that. And they're like, oh, how many days? I'm like, oh, fucking 14 days left. And like, 3 weeks, like 3 months goes by, like, oh, you still on a challenge? Like, yep, 3 days left. Like, I thought you had fucking 3 weeks left the first time. So, but either way, a challenge can help a ton. So please feel free, like, tell them you have a 30-day no drinking challenge. Tell them you have a 30-day challenge of not going out to eat. Tell them like whatever the challenge is for you. Normally, if you do that, people will kind of back off the reins a bit. So that's number 1. Number 2, along with the practical side of things, pre-track your calories. If you are counting calories, excuse me, wow, burp there. One of the biggest things and one of the most beneficial things I've seen my clients do is pre-track your calories for the entire day. So if you know that you are going out to eat with your friends or with your spouse or whoever, the night before, take the extra 5 or 10 minutes to plan out your entire day. Like, I would literally go hour by hour. Like, okay, what am I having for lunch? What am I having for dinner? What am I having for a snack? And again, if you know you want to have 2 drinks when you go out to dinner, you can do that, because as long as you're in a calorie deficit, you will still lose body fat. You can do that, but you've pre-tracked your calories ahead of time, knowing that, okay, cool, I have room for this many drinks, I have room for this appetizer, I have room for this entree, I know this entree has this many calories, or about this many calories. Like, you have a plan. Most people, when they go into these things, they don't have any plan. They just like, oh, well, I guess I'll try to eat healthy and I'll try to, it's like, great, like that's amazing. You want to try and you want to push yourself to be better, but there's no plan. It's very like, it's very gray area. Like, there's no very like clear, concise plan, like bright lines of what you should be doing or not be doing, right? So if you go into your dinner, whatever it is, and you say, hey, okay, I know I have this appetizer, which is about this many calories. I know I have this entree, which is about this many calories. And I know I have room for 2 drinks. That is my plan right there. I can have this, this, and this. That is my plan. And that way, you know, going into it, you don't feel as pressured because you have a plan going into it. And if you take the time, whether it's with your coach or just by yourself, if you take the time to say, hey, you know, I'm going into this social event, I have this party, what should I do? Da-da. If you take, you know, 5, 10, 15 minutes to actually sit down, plan things out, you're going to be more, not only will you have that plan, but you'll be more invested into that plan. You'll be more invested to say, no, I'm going to stick to this plan. You'll be more invested to say, hey, you know, by the way, I have this challenge going on where I'm trying to not drink as many alcoholic beverages or whatever it is. You'll be more invested. And the more invested you are, plus the more clear and concise you can make things that make your plan, the better it is going to turn out. I promise you. I can't tell you how many of my clients, we've done this with them. And you know, that same night or the morning after, they email me just so excited, so exuberant, so happy, so proud of themselves. Like, Eric, you won't believe it. Like, I went to the social event. I only had this, this, and this, just like I planned to. It was amazing. I still had fun. I still had a great time. I feel so proud of myself. I didn't gain 4 pounds overnight. Like, they were so proud of themselves. And when you go into it with pre-tracking calories and making a plan for that day, you can also too wake up the next morning proud of yourself, feeling accomplished of yourself, and knowing that you did what you could to make sure you stayed on track with your goals that you have. Because like we said over here, these are your goals, not your friends' goals. So making sure you stay on track with your goals you have can make you feel so good about yourself. So that would be another thing I'd say is pre-track your calories / plan your food the night before. It takes 5 minutes. Please do it. I don't want to say any more on it because I'm going to rant, but please, it takes 5 minutes. Stop saying you don't have time. You have time, I promise. And the last thing would be order sequence, which just means when you do go out to eat and have your meals, order sequence, what I mean by that is like the sequence in which you eat your food with your meals, right? So let's say you are going to your grandparents' house or going out to eat or whatever it is. One of the biggest things I can tell you is before you have anything else, before you have appetite, before you have carbs, before you have fats, before you have drinks, before you have anything else, try to eat all of the protein you are going to eat beforehand. Because what this is going to do is 2 things. Number 1, on your end, it's going to make you more full. It's going to make you more satisfied. It's going to make you not want as many other things, right? But also number 2, it can kind of help with the peer pressure because I think most of the time people are like, oh, you know, this person's not eating. Why are you not eating? You're not eating as much. What's going on? Da-da. But when they see you, you know, chowing down on a steak or they see you chowing down on the chicken breasts, like, and you eat all of it before you eat anything else, like, oh, wow, like, it's not as like obvious in a sense of like, oh, she's not eating or he's not eating this. Like, oh, wow, he just fucking killed that steak. Like, and then you can say, and you probably will be, but you can say, hey, you know, I just killed that steak. I'm not as hungry anymore. They're like, oh shit, like I saw you fucking kill that steak over there. Yeah, for sure. Like I would understand why you're not as hungry. Cool, no worries. And like, again, it's just small things like that that can kind of like help you like, oh, okay, like I don't have to, they're not pressuring me to have this or have that or, you know, drink this or eat that. Like, oh, you know, I just saw you crush that entire portion of protein. Like, I understand why you're probably not as hungry now. It makes total sense. And so it's just little things like that that can kind of like, you know, I don't want to say deter, but it can kind of like deter their spears thrown at you in a sense of like, listen, like I just had this whole fucking plate of chicken breast, like I'm not hungry anymore. I don't want your food. Sorry. Like, oh, no worries. But again, if you're like, you know, if you're not having food at all, if you're trying to eat very little, it's like, oh, well, shit, like this you know, they're going to be that much more kind of picking at you and kind of gnawing at you, right? But it's like, if you have, you know, if you order a steak or whatever it is and you have that, all that protein first, number 1, you are going to be full, but number 2, it kind of gives them less ammo, so to speak, to kind of come at you. So that's just, again, just one thing I found, not only with myself, but working with clients, one thing I found to help pretty well as well. So that's what I would say. So that was the whole video. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'm not sure if you needed it or not needed it. I guess if you're watching the video by this far in, you probably did need it. So I hope it helped you. If it did help you, please feel free to let me know below. This is something where I'm pretty passionate about this kind of stuff because, again, like I was the one in my family who was eating all the quote-unquote healthy food, who was always meal prepping their food, who was always bringing, like on vacation, I would bring food. Even when I go home now to see my parents, I bring food with me. It's like, you know, I've always been that person, right? And again, you know, growing up in high school boy age, it's like, you know, when I wasn't drinking at parties, people were giving me tons of shit. Like I can't, and you know, like, you know, it is what it is. But again, at the same time, it's like, I know what it feels like. So being able to, hopefully help you in your own journey, because I know what it feels like, because, I've kind of lived that same thing you're trying to do right now. I've lived it, right? So hopefully I can help you in any way, shape, or form. If it did help, that made me incredibly happy. So if you did watch this far, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you want to let me know below if it helped you or not, please feel free to let me know. If you like the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more of this guy. Normally I keep my face shaved as well, so hopefully that'll be good. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk soon, all right?